These are your readings from the waist up, and I'm Megan Benanti. So thanks for tuning in, everyone. Today I'm going to do something a little bit different because part of the whole thing of tarot is let's have some fun with it. Like if we can't change things up. I've always worked with charms, but I'm going to work with my charms a little bit differently today. And I know I'm fairly new on YouTube again, but I do the charm readings on Instagram. So I'm going to pull 3 cards from this deck. This is numbered 0 to 21. So with those 3 cards, I'm going to give you the number of that card. Don't look it up, just go with your gut on what number connects for you. And then that reading will apply for you, and we'll dive a little deeper into that card. I don't know how to say his name, but this is the deck I'm working with. It is just the majors, so no minors in it. All right, so we're gonna choose 3, and I have been shuffling. Let's see, okay. Number 9 is our first number. Number 10. And, okay, one jumped out at me, which I'm not usually a jumper, but of course it's 8. So 8, 9, or 10. You choose one of those numbers, and then I've got a corresponding reading, and we'll dive deeper into the numbers themselves. I will show you the cards as I go through the readings. I'm going to read them in the order that they came in, not in the order that they came in, but in numerical order. So we'll start with 8, then we'll do 9, then we'll do 10. Okay, so this is going to be fun, and always love a good little bit of exploration here. I've also said my prayers ahead of time and done my clearing, so we are all set with that. Okay, so people who pick number 8, let us do your reading to begin with. All right. Well, you didn't go far from that 8. You've literally got 7s, 2 7s, a knight, and a 9. So you are in that kind of mid to end cycle. I'm going to work with charms on top of this, so I'm just going to pull those out now, and I'll show you things as I go through them, so that we are not demystified by everything. So, all right. First off, number 8, Justice. And Justice can be 8 or 11. It depends on if the deck was based on the Rider-Waite or if it was based on the Thoth Tarot. It's just a different basis, and whatever someone studies as an artist is usually what they develop into. So in this case, our Justice is 8. And so balance, figuring out that sense of right and wrong for yourself. And it's interesting because you've got challenge here, dealing with these 7s. Not bad, but just a sense of where you need to go with things. So looking at 7 of Wands, taking things on, not defending your ground, but keeping up with it. Trying to manage everything. It's not easy, but I love it how strong you are here, because this honors that energy of being a muscle man, and he's got love written on him, and he's all tattooed up, and guess what? Your charm is an ink and quill. So that really connects. And so we think about that and the idea of writing, and I love that he has love written on him. So there's a sense that you have a lot to manage and navigate to keep your sense of balance right now. That is not a bad thing. That shows that you're using your skill set. Also, when we think about the 8 is the lemniscate, which is also, that's our old-fashioned tarot word for the infinity symbol. But I typically refer to it as a lemniscate instead of an infinity symbol. So, the loop of life, how we move through things. And you've got this old-fashioned way of writing, of thinking. So maybe this is doing journaling or writing something, but not on the computer. Not leaning into ChatGPT, but leaning into your own inner wisdom. And that's kind of challenging. It is, because we always second guess, oh, what I say isn't good enough, I'll write it, but then let me put it into ChatGPT and have them improve upon it. And I always find this, as I move into this era and this type of writing, I find that I second guess myself more and more because I want to sound professional and lose my own sense of self in that. What I want for you to honor, it is to own your sense of self in this. Don't underestimate the power of your own words and the beauty of your own handwriting, even if it looks like chicken scratch. And I know that a lot of people don't have beautiful handwriting anymore because they don't have to focus on it. There's not the emphasis on our dexterity when it comes to our penmanship. So looking at this, take a deep breath, trust your inner strength. And that's also an interesting number to consider because 8 in the Universal Rider-Waite deck is strength, but here it is justice. So trust that you've got this. You can find balance. One of the things I want you to think about is your work feels like it is perhaps not paying off for you right now, that you're putting in all this effort. It feels like it's never going to pay off. And there's such a full harvest here, but I have this in reverse. So you're fighting this energy or feeling the resistance of it. And yet your charm is literally wheat. So your full harvest. What I want you to know is that perhaps it doesn't feel like it's going to pay off now, but I think it will in the coming months. So that could be 2026. But I just want you to be aware that even though it might not bear fruit at this moment, these energies and this effort is going to pay off for you in the future. So hang in there with it. This is going to be good. All your strength and resilience will work together. It just might not be as beautiful as you want it. And that instant gratification, it's not there. That's okay. Now, personal life. Hustle, hustle, hustle. You've got Knight of Swords. This is go time for you. But when we think about that, you know, it's an air sign. For me, it connects with words and our ability to think, our intellectual mind. So it's very much go. But to counterbalance that air sign, we have a root vegetable. This is a turnip or beet. I'm a big fan of beet, so we'll say it's a beet. So grounded energy. You need to root yourself in. There is a hustle for you to go, go, go. Think, solve problems, get things done. Be out there, be expressive. And I love this for you, but ground yourself in. Know who you are. Know what you're about this week. You know, don't be afraid to kind of get your hands dirty and, you know, when you're around the home. So maybe doing some housekeeping or perhaps working in the garden if you have that available to you, or even doing flower pots. But the energy for that seems good. I feel like you've got a lot of good ideas. She's literally wearing words on her dress. Now they are tight. So this idea of the power of your words is really significant right now. Trusting your own thoughts, your own mind. Oh, and I want to see, it actually says something on her dress, and I want to see what that says. It says, right is worth the cost. Well, that is interesting because you had justice and the idea of right and wrong. And so right is worth the cost, and it's spelled R-I-G-H-T. So it's not writing. And understanding your sense of self right now and defining that and owning that and feeling confident in that energy. So that's excellent. Moving into next week for you, you've got 9 of Cups, which is just a general card of contentment. It's a good card. Positive, we feel good about it. There's just a sense of confirmation there. You've also got, if I can pick it up, the owl charm for wisdom. And so there's a sense for you of trusting in yourself, again, in your abilities, in your brain power. I'm looking at this, there is more emphasis again on the head and developing abilities. Your thinking power is blooming here and feeling good about yourself. So if you're just moving into fall weather as I am, this feels really good because I feel like as you cool down temperature wise, you're getting more confident within you. And so it's almost like you're dropping away that heat and the sweat and the frustration of summer. In Texas, it gets wildly hot here. So it's very restorative when we move into cooler temperatures in fall time. I do see you being guarded. She is wearing a lot of armor. And so protecting yourself a little bit, which might be good. We all need to have some boundaries. It's leather armor. I don't believe it's metal. So, oh well, I guess it could be metal actually. You know, but it is good to have boundaries around yourself, and it doesn't necessarily look like it's on the bottom half of her. We're just seeing the top. So protecting your primary chakras. And I think the more that we understand who we are and our sense of purpose and what we're about in this world, the more that we can not be defined by what other people think of us. And so that's part of this energy for you, is that you're taking ownership of yourself. The owl is traditionally the symbol of wisdom. And you know, and perhaps it might have personal meaning for you. I know for my mom it did. It was the animal that was chosen for her sorority. And so that was symbolic in other ways that I wouldn't understand. I was never in a sorority. But that might be symbolic for you in other ways. So whatever message it brings you, it's also the night visionary. And so when you think of that, you might be having really good ideas at night. If that's the case, jot them down, write them down. I used to think my greatest sense of wisdom came through at night, and I was getting these intense downloads, and so I started writing them down. And the next morning, they really didn't make any sense to me, but they felt so powerful in the moment. So, but everybody's different, you know, and everybody has their wheelhouse and their time for bringing in information. So, justice people, power for you in your stability. That number 8, the give and take of energy is strong right now, as well as being stable in that energy. And knowing what's right for you and just honoring that is so, so good. So I love what's happening here. And do know that, again, with that work situation, things are going to come to fruition over time. It just won't be an instant gratification situation for you. Okay, so we are going to look at our number 9s. I'm putting my cards back into the deck. I always like to separate them in there. I'm going to leave these charms out, and so we'll have totally different ones, because I have a lot of charms in there. But that way we get something different. Okay, let me give this a shuffle. I'm going to give it another. All right, so our 9s, and we have very odd Roman numerals here. They're done a little bit different. This is your Hermit card. Now, people are like, oh, the Hermit. The Hermit's wonderful, let me tell you. You know, yes, it can be doing things on your own and feeling the burden of that, but I also think of the Hermit as a trailblazer, foraging ahead, creating new ideas, creating new paths where there hasn't been one before. So you're stepping into unknown territory, and what's significant for you is having faith in this path that you're on. Okay, so I've got your cards ready. Oh, okay. Well, that's interesting. So you're going to need faith. You've got some challenges here. It's interesting, the last one had 2 7s and a 9. You've got 2 6s and an 8. So, and a Queen. So first off, with your Hermit energy, we've got Queen of Pentacles in reverse. So we are looking at the challenge that she's facing right now. And this is not only defining herself in her personal life, but in work. she connects with our careers and being strong, but also a sense of home and family. And also, so you might be wondering, when is that coming for me? Or you might be struggling with your own mom if she's having issues right now. So be open to how that plays out for you. There is something about you hiding, and you're hiding behind the story of perhaps what you believed about who your parents should have been for you or what they were for you. And don't let that story dictate who you are now. Even if you're a young person, where your parental influence would be really heavy in dictating who you are now, don't let that be the only story in your life, because you get to define who you are. And our parents are a big influence on that. But the older we get, the more we define that ourselves. And a lot of times when we live in the stories that we tell, we're living in the drama of it. And we're not actually experiencing or processing the emotions. We're telling the story and letting that live rather than letting ourselves live. So I'm looking at this for you, and the first thing that came up is own who you are. Don't live behind someone else's story about who you need to be right now, because this is way more important for you. Oh, interesting. Okay, our charm is the stork carrying the baby. So there might be some focus for you on either trying to get pregnant or dealing with pregnancy. But what we give birth to doesn't necessarily need to be a baby. It can also be that we are struggling to give birth to a career in our life or something that we really want. And so there's some resistance for you in this. What is it that you want? And what is it that you're not willing to tackle to get what you want? Understand that, because that's where you can make a shift. And just look at the question, write it down on paper. What is my greatest point of resistance in achieving what I want right now? That's going to help you to navigate this energy, because I do see you wanting to give birth to something, and we want this for you. We want you to be productive and happy and have a good life. Now, in your career, which might also be school, we've got the devil. Love her. So, it might not be the best environment. It feels binding. It feels sticky. Actually, it feels like it's a little bit stagnant right now as well. We've got cobwebs growing. And she is part mushroom, part spider. So she has her own level of sort of toxicity. But she also looks at us like, come on, she's a little bit tempting. And I want you to think about how feeling this way benefits you about this environment. Because what are you getting from feeling stuck, imprisoned, broken, toxic, icky around your work or your school life? Because I see things growing here like that could be really promising. And if we look at the bottom, there's lots of flowers. And they're growing in the shadows. And there's nothing better than flowers that bloom in the shade. Because in a place where I live, where it's so hot, you plant a lot of shade trees. And then it's like, oh, but my flowers won't bloom. So you've got things blooming. Let's focus on that energy. What can you take from that? How can you learn from that? Oh, and how about this? We got a cupcake just to support you in this journey of finding joy in this difficult situation. And that's part of your challenge. The devil's a soul level card. So you are supposed to find the positive in what you perceive as negative. Okay? And that's the hermit idea of wisdom. He is the old wise one. So grow up. Be wise. What can you learn from this? What's your takeaway? Okay. So personal life, we've got 6 of Wands. It's in reverse. Okay. And one of the things that happens with that is we don't really feel acknowledged in our personal life. Maybe nobody's paying attention to us. Maybe we want nobody to pay attention to us, but I do think you want someone to see you here, to acknowledge your efforts. Oh, and how is that? How about this? You want some love and really feel that love. Is that backwards to you? I don't know. Maybe that's backwards. I'm not sure how this is going to play out on camera, sorry. But you need to feel loved in your personal life. And so, and that hermit aspect can be very isolative in its nature, and feeling isolated. So what I would ask from you is, what happens if you ask for what you want and saying, hey, you know, I've been doing all this. I would love to be acknowledged for that. Or I'm doing all this stuff. I'm not sure that you've noticed. And I just wanted you to know that I am trying to pick up the house or support you. If you are wanting to fall in love, why are you in hermit mode? You have to put yourself out there. And sometimes we're not, you know, we want to be in love because we don't want to be in love alone, but that's not a reason to be in love. Being in love is when we are bubbling over and we are so full of goodness in ourselves that we radiate that. And then someone else becomes attracted to us because we have so much to offer them. And then they offer us things in return, and we fall in love with how they make us feel. So if you're in hermit mode, you might not be in a position where you're offering anybody anything positive. And so it's a reciprocal nature, and you have to be in the right place and the right time. And you know, there's a myriad of things that go into falling in love. What I'd like to see for you to do is that, or for what I'd like to see you do, if you want to fall in love, is just put yourself into positions where that might happen. Okay? And you know, with that Queen of Pentacles in reverse, you might not feel as beautiful as you want to be feeling right now, and that's okay. But you know, sometimes we're not perfect, but that doesn't mean that someone else might not think that you are. So just navigate that energy a little bit. Okay, moving into next week. Let me pull out a charm for us. Oh, okay. We have Strength. And this is a card of companionship, of close, intimate relationships. So really paying attention to the people that bring goodness into your life. Sexual energy can be higher with this as well. It doesn't mean you have to act on it. It's just you might notice it more. Sometimes it can be more prominent. Your charm is the little airplane. Old-fashioned, the type where you'd fly with the, you know, in just a mask, the goggles and the hat, and it'd be open. So you're not going super fast, but up in the air. And this idea of more perspective and a playfulness to it. You know, people that rode these planes, that would have been delightful and fun. I mean, of course, they had to go to war and stuff too, but people that were pilots loved being pilots and loved being up in the air. So, you know, there's a sense of maybe feeling lonely this week, but I do see that companionship coming for you energetically. So this doesn't necessarily mean it's romantic. It can just be in friendship or with someone that you care deeply for, but I feel like there's more connection for you coming up. And also showing a level of endurance, like you've been in a place of maybe feeling a little bit weak or challenged, and you're growing stronger. So you're embracing who you are and who you want to become. And that's super powerful. It's also a major arcana. So again, that's part of your soul's journey, that you've gone from devil energy into strength energy. Yes, we love that for you. So, okay, so Hermit people, this looks great. I'm really pleased with where you're going. I know you've got some challenges you're facing, but that's not bad. You're doing what you need to do to move forward. And I love that you're owning that challenge for yourself. Okay, so let's take a look at our last card, which is number 10. And of course, that is the Wheel of Fortune. And this is such an interesting deck with the sense of perspectives that they have on here. And I will list it below in the caption so you'll have that. But again, it is just the majors. It's not a complete deck. And I'd love to see this artist do a complete deck, but one of the things I know is that making a deck of tarot cards takes a really, really long time. I got to interview an artist that had made the new era of Elements Tarot, and it took her 3 years of just drawing after work, you know. Okay, so Wheel of Fortune, people, 10. Ooh, okay. Interesting. Well, and how about your numbers? So we have numbers over 10, I always add up and reduce to 10 or below. So we've got 10, 8, 9, and 10, and then a 2. Interesting. And I'm going to pull out the charms all at once again because I kind of like that. So, whoop. Okay. Our first card up, we have the Sun in reverse. So, Wheel of Fortune, maybe a little bit of a gloomy cycle or disappointing cycle for you right now. This is where you've got to figure out how to find your happiness again. That's okay. That's hard. And your charm is literally a pretzel. So the idea of being a little tied up in knots can be part of that. Maybe feeling a little soft or squishy too, or a little salty. And you know, in pretzel salt, like I have to scrape it off because it's so big. It's too intense for my mouth. So this idea of like maybe feeling oversensitive and everything that someone says to you just stings like salt on a wound. And so just understand you're here and it feels bad. And this is a tough moment to be in for you. And I get that. And even with this wheel that she's turning, you've got these kind of creepy guys hanging on there. And one's looking a little bit snarky as well. And so there's some difficulty here. And, you know, the sensitivity of how other people are reacting to you feels really strong right now. So go inward. And what I'd like for you to do, this is one of my favorite things, breathe into your heart. Just feel it. And, you know, breathe slowly in and breathe slowly out. And just take a few minutes. And, you know, you can do it after this reading and just absorb some time to yourself. And imagine your heart being filled with sunlight. And that sunlight is the light of the divine energy, and allow that to fill your heart. And then as your heart pumps, let it spread throughout your body. Just imagine it, and imagine feeling light infuse all areas of your body. And that's going to help you just to feel better in this moment, and maybe take some of that edge off and some of the salt off the wounds. There's a part of you that is huge and big and bright and wonderful, and you feel like you're trying to hide it right now. Or that people don't see you as being magnificent, and you are. Now you might make some cruddy choices. We have our ego and we have our soul. And the soul is the part of us that is always divine and always magnificent. And our ego can be magnificent, but it also gets caught up in like, hey, me, it's all about me, me. And I get that. I have a big ego. We all do. It's okay. It's part of being human. So your ego is where we get tormented, though. It's the part of us that struggles. And so maybe your ego is dealing with feelings of shame and difficulty. And what I would say is that's okay. When we have tough times, sometimes we just have to be in it. So do some journaling, Don't just hold it in, get it out on paper or talk to someone about it. We all feel shame, disappointment with ourselves, self-loathing. We all go through it. And what I want you to do is really focus on the joy of who you are and that divine light within you. Okay, so because we want you to begin to shift your cycle. I know it's a tough one, and sometimes, like I will say this year, I was in a tough cycle. No real strong outside influences. It was me, myself, and I dealing with a down cycle in my life and feeling challenged by it. So I sat and meditated every day. And I know no matter how sucky I felt, it would get better. It will end. It always does. Okay, now, your work school life, we've got strength. This is good. This is pushing through no matter how difficult your life is. You're getting it done. And you're believing in yourself. You're supporting yourself. You're taking care of the things that you need to do. I see you leaning into this and also into your support system in your schoolwork environment. So that looks really good. Strength is an interesting card because it doesn't mean it's going to be easy. It means that we've got the tenacity, we've got the chutzpah to get through it, to get it done, no matter how difficult or challenging it may be. Your charm is a little poodle. And so, we think about the poodles. They're generally very intelligent dogs. They get really fancy haircuts. And so they're kind of high maintenance. And they would get pretty tangly if they weren't, brushed and groomed and taken care of. But I see you leaning into your intelligence and leaning into the part of you that perhaps can be a little high maintenance, but you do it gracefully and beautifully in your schoolwork environment. And so, again, paying attention to details is also part of that. So with our poodles, most people are just going to shave them down so that their hair is manageable and they're not going to go into the big fancy poodly doos. So I feel for you that there's a sense of knowing what you need to do to be your best self in your schoolwork environment. So that is excellent. Your personal life. Ooh, I love this. Great card. 9 of Pentacles. Safety and security. There's a strong sense of self-confidence here. So you have 2 really positive things. And it's interesting because it's kind of sandwiched in between your challenges. And you have 3 major arcanas. Holy cow. So you're definitely on your soul's path and doing the work that you need to do in this journey. Now, with your 9 of Pentacles, we've got some fries, which is interesting because we love French fries. We love them. We always love them, but they are completely junk food. All the nutritious value has been fried away in our little potatoes. So, there's a sense of looking good and being on top of your game and maybe having the right clothes and having some cash flow right now and being confident. But I also want you to consider that all that might be your junk food right now. And it looks, they're delicious, but they are temporary. And, they don't have a lot of nutrition. So they're kind of empty calories without a lot of reward. And I can see that as being sort of the undercurrent of your life right now. So yes, it all looks fantabulous on the outside. And I don't know why I said that, but fantastic or fabulous. I came up with fantabulous. I don't know why that came out, but there we go. But outside, everything looks great. Internally, I think your struggle is deeper than that. However, I would say I'm really appreciative of your sense of style at the moment. Love it. Okay, now moving into next week, we have our High Priestess. She is in reverse, though. And that's interesting because, she represents our spiritual journey. And your charm is Isis. So the female goddess in Egyptology. and definitely representing your spiritual path. And it's interesting, it's almost like they're contradicting each other, in some ways canceling each other out. What I want you to think about with this high priestess energy, and literally having a priestess here, Isis, a goddess charm, with the Ankh for life. If you are trying to fit into your traditional belief system, it might not be working for you right now. And it almost feels like, even if you grew up with, Judaism or Christianity, I was going to say Judeo-Christian belief system, there might be a call for you, or something else, forgive me, Muslim, whatever, to lean into some kind of goddess energy right now. So that could be Mother Mary, that could be Artemis, Diana, Isis, who else is out there? Whoever. You know what your faith system is. Lean into maybe a female in that has been powerful for you, that might be helpful in your prayers over the next week. There's also a little bit of a sense of maybe being overly impulsive, irrational. You might have some kind of challenge with your cycle. If you're female, there could be a little bit of difficulty around your period coming up in here. And so I would be prepared to have supplies on hand, just in case it's oddly a little messy this time, is kind of what I'm picking up on, or it could be late. I'm not saying pregnant late, but just, just stress sometimes can either hold it back or scooch it up, make it come early. So just being aware that there might be something a little different about your menstrual cycle, if you're female. And the other thing I'm seeing with this, though, is you're navigating yourself out of your own challenging cycle. And so what I feel with High Priestess is you're sort of grappling with, how do I get there? And what does this need to look like for me? And it is a difficult time for many of us because, I was born in the 70s, so I grew up with, God being this white man with a white beard and white hair, and he lived in this place called heaven with white clouds and golden gates. And I don't perceive things at my spiritual life in that way anymore. And so we are in a period where our spiritual life is a point of exploration, and we need to navigate that and define that. And part of High Priestess energy is to explore that and define that in our own way. And I feel like for you, there's some struggle with that, and that's okay. But just know that you'll find your way through this. The struggle is where you're growing. And so do ask those hard questions. Don't be afraid to step into that. And there's going to be some emotional things that are triggered for you. Acknowledge those emotions. What is this about for you? Does it feel right? Does it feel wrong? It's okay. And know that all of this is part of the cycle that you're in right now, and that this is a period of growth for you. And you're pushing through the hard stuff, and you're climbing the mountain. And I feel like you're developing a new sense of understanding your own sense of faith. Okay, so that is our reading for this week. Thank you all so much for tuning in. Please do the like, subscribe, all those things, and share this with someone. And I'll see you guys soon. Bye.